Good evening, everybody. I am Valerie, the Director of Learning and Leadership Development at Neighbor to Neighbor. And I want to welcome you to the Neighborhood Passions Affinity Network. Yay! I'm so happy to have you all here with us today. So, the purpose of the network is to bring people just like you together, our community partners, our neighbors, other stakeholders from across metropolitan area around 8 key neighborhood passions.
And across the country, we now have found out, right?
Oh, that's right. We've got
Yes.
people coming from other parts of the country. I'm so excited about that. So the passions are crime prevention and reduction, beautification and the environment, neighborhood planning and development, making government work for our neighbors, um, neighborhood preservation, community and diversity, caring for our neighbors, and effective neighborhood organizing. So tonight's topic is successful public-private partnerships and coming from the planning and development passion.
And
so,
before we start, we want to take time tonight just to thank our champion. These programs are not possible without support from businesses and grants and really people like you who make these programs possible by giving to neighbor. Our champion sponsor, the organization that really has taken the Neighborhood Passions Affinity Network and made it their own, is Google. Obviously, since we're a network, why not support us, right? And so Google is our presenting sponsor, and we just want to thank them tonight. Okay, now we get closer to the more important thing to do. What we really want to do, because this is a networking session, is just take less than 3 minutes to have people, if you're willing to, introduce yourself. And I'm not going to call on anybody. And if you don't want to, you certainly are not required to say, but what we invite you to do is share your name and the neighborhood that you're calling from. That way we have an idea of who's here and really get to see that we're from all over the city. So I'll start, and then whoever wants to go next. And when nobody else is talking, we're going to proceed. I'm Jim Hawk. I am the executive director here at Neighbor to Neighbor, and I live over in historic Edgefield in East Nashville.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Hatcher. I live in Lakeside Cove subdivision. I'm the neighborhood watch captain, and I would like to introduce Melissa.
Now, see, that is Carolyn going by our old rules.
Yeah.
Tonight, yeah, you can, whoever wants to go next can go next.
Well, I'll go. So I'm Melissa. I live at Lakeside Cove, close to Carolyn, and I'm on the board of directors for the neighborhood.
Thanks, Melissa.
Thank you.
Hey, I'm Katie Burris. I live in East Nashville in the Rosebank neighborhood. Also part of the Friends of Shelby organization.
Outstanding. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you.
I'll follow Katie because I'm Rebecca Rotz. I am also with Friends of Shelby Park and Bottoms, and also live on the east side, and I'm in Laughlin Springs.
Great. And welcome, Rebecca. I think this is both your first time, so glad you all are here.
Thank you.
I'm Anita Armstrong, president of Greenwood Neighborhood Association in East Nashville.
A regular here. We'll call her Norm.
I'm Winnie Forrester. I'm on the board of the Haynes Trinity Neighborhood Coalition and also Haynes Heights Neighborhood Association.
I'm Berkeley Allen. I'm on the board of the Hillsborough West End neighborhood and also a council member working on legislation on public-private partnerships. So excited to hear what's going on tonight.
Wow, great. Thank you.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeremiah. I'm a resident in the White Bridge Neighborhood Association, and this is my first cycle of these Thursday night sessions, and they've been amazing. They've been really great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, Matt.
I guess I can go. I'm Matt Kwazik. I live in the Green Hills area. not currently affiliated, I guess, with an organization, but my work kind of takes me into all the different neighborhoods working in commercial real estate. So there's my interest, I guess, of learning more.
Matt, welcome. Glad you were here tonight too.
Am I unmuted?
You're unmuted.
Okay, great, great. Ed Branding, who you do not recognize because I popped a lens out of my glasses and can't get to the optical shop to get a new pair of glasses. So I'm flying on one wing. I look awfully frumpy, but this is me. And Katie, I guess I'll be on a call with you later tonight because the Rosebank people have their meeting. But actually, I'm in Antioch while the house is being rebuilt from the tornado.
Thanks, Ed. Welcome. And Betsy, I saw Betsy was saying something before, but I don't think she has sound right now. So we want to welcome Betsy tonight too. Back to you, Valerie, I think.
Okay, well, we're so excited to have our guest here tonight. You know, in a time of dwindling public funds, it's no surprise that there's a renewed interest in public-private partnership projects. And so tonight, to talk about that, we have Dominique Anderson from Dominique Anderson Consulting. All right, Dominique.
Hello, everyone. Familiar
Evening.
faces and new faces. Ed, I thought maybe you just were putting on your after 5 look. I didn't know you'd broken your glasses. I just
No, this is increasingly my look.
I'm done, y'all. I'm sorry. He just cracks me up all the time. So I am Dominique Anderson, and I guess because I didn't want to waste a lot of time being creative on a name, I named a firm after me. So Dominique Anderson Consulting. I am a social impact strategy consultant. And what does that mean? My parents don't know, but they know I eat, so it really doesn't make a big deal. But I make sure that organizations that say they impact communities the way they say, that it actually happens, right? So it's a real deal and real results happen. So that's the long and short of what I do. I'm also the incoming executive director for the Tennessee Affordable Housing Coalition. And I consult with the South Nashville Action People, also SNAP. And I think they slap my name on things as executive director there as well, which is interesting, but I do all of those things. And then I sleep sometimes and I feed my family. And I represent downtown because my office is downtown, but I live in Juliet, so let's not say it too loud. So yes, I live out of Davidson County. Okay, so I had a couple of questions that came to me, and if you don't mind, let's get through the presentation, then maybe we'll tie it up in there, or we'll just address the questions at the end. Sound good? Thumbs up? Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Okay, good. Also, all you cat and dog people, you make me very sad I don't have a pet, so I'm gonna have to go out and get a pet now because those cats and dogs are giving you so much love. Let's share the screen. Let's go here. All right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. All right, so welcome. Let's see if it lets me go forward. Why is it? Oh, there we are. So that's me. We already talked about that. Social Impact Strategy Consulting, AHC, and SNAP. So I think what's going to be good about where we are today and what you all are doing as leaders of your organizations, we can kind of use SNAP and some of the things we've done thus far as kind of a case study, I think. So today we're talking about public-private partnerships, or also known as P3s. What are P3s, how to establish those relationships, tips for successful relationships, and then connecting with partners and creating mutually beneficial relationships. So what are P3s? Kind of the summation of it. Individuals and private community organizations connect with local, regional, national, federal government organizations or municipal organizations, right? So your neighborhood associations or yourself as an individual or your other group needs community buy-in and support for something that you're wanting to get done or move forward. And why? Why would you even get into these partnerships? Because of increased funding, right? You're better together, your power and your leverage. If I have a thought of something and I want to move something ahead, knowing somebody like Berkeley Allen, who has got that legislative power, right, if you will, that's helpful because at least it's in her mind when she's talking to other people. And then an amplified voice. What if you're maybe in social media, you might call your promotional partner, that voice is bigger. In the Affordable Housing Coalition, I also look to Urban Land Institute. I'm a member of both organizations. They're vastly different, but putting a foot in both organizations creates a bigger, more amplified voice. So you have maybe developers and market rate individuals on one side and affordable housing individuals on the other side. But if we can bring those conversations together, we're so much more powerful together. And that's what makes me what I like to call a money-making hippie. I say that often because I am. So I like to do good, make money, do good, repeat. And so if you ask yourself, what's it all about? This GIF or GIF, depending on what you want to call it, talks about the different things. It's going to move in a moment, so it may go fast, but community-driven solutions. When you think about the partnerships that you need to move your objective forward, you have to know what are you driving towards? What's the most important piece? Is it physical or social, education, transportation, housing? Or if you're saying, duh, Dominique, it's all of those things. We need all those things all the time in our community. Then that helps you create the most important targets, right? Know who you're going after. If you set number one as education, we need better schools, we need better this, we need better that, we need better food in our schools. We won't even touch that. But if that's whatever that piece of the most important pie is, there's an organization, governmental, that you want to attract and connect to. So I think the first step in really starting those partnerships is laying out what's the most important. I ask clients and individuals all the time, what do you want? Did anybody ever watch Scandal? I was a publicist for a long time. I did a lot of crisis PR. And so Olivia Pope was kind of my shero. And she always asked the question, what do you want? And so when you ask yourself, when you start this work, what do you want? That helps you define who's going to help you get there.
Dominique, can you say what's on this video? Because it's hard to see. It's kind of small.
Okay. This is small? That's
yes.
Weird. Okay, so it's I wonder why. So it's structural inequities and biases drivers, socioeconomic drivers. And so it's the environment and education, transportation, housing. It's all the things that go, there's social determinants of health and all the things that really go into a community. And when you start the P3 work, it helps you understand and define what's the most important component of what needs to happen inside of your community or your organization. Physical environment, income and wealth, health systems and services, employment. There are variances of things that make up what you need to happen. Is that helpful?
Yes.
Is this big or is it small? Can
it's
you see
good.
It's big?
It's good.
Or tiny? It's good. Okay. So 10 principles for successful public-private partnerships. You want to prepare properly for public-private partnerships. What do you want? Who can help you there? Who's the person to talk to? How are you going to get to them? Right? So you say, well, duh, that's pretty simple to know. But sometimes we have a big vision and we don't have the minute things laid out. So you have to lay out those minute things and prepare. When you go to speak to a council member or a government professional, you want to have exactly who they are and what they do your back work. You want to create a shared vision. If I go to the mayor and I say, listen, we need 12 new snow shovels, since Jim made me think of that, broke your shovels. So if we need 12 new snow shovels for every house, I have to make a vision that's created, a shared vision. Why does he care? I need to make it matter to him as well. Maybe he needs a shovel and he broke his. So now if there's 12, you have a shovel too, right? So what's the thing that's going to make a shared vision? It's got to be a win-win on both sides. Understand your partners and key players. Again, preparing properly helps you understand who you're talking to and what they want and what they need. But you also need to know if you have a planning or zoning problem or question, who's in planning? Who can you talk to? Who's the lowest hanging fruit for you to get what you need? And just shooting wildly at planning and sending an email and CCing everybody on it's probably not going to get the result that you want. But if you do a little research and find out who's specifically working on the types of things that you're concerned with, that's the person you go to, and it may take more than one touch point, but you'll get there. Also, be clear on the risk and rewards for all parties. If you want to enter into an agreement with a government official or a municipal organization, know how does that risky for you, right? What's the risk that you take by being partnered with them? When I started my consultancy, because I knew a lot about development from the inside and kind of the working parts and processes, and then looking at impact from a developer standpoint, helping organizations have a voice in that space, immediately there's a risk with being attached to all kinds of developers, right? If you're doing neighborhood work, but then you have to help that be understood. Listen, here's what we're doing. Here's why we need to be able to look from the inside out. So the risk and rewards for yourself and for that other party. Your clear and rational decision-making process. Again, slow down, take a breath. Everything that comes at you, if you're the leader of an organization, everything that comes at you is an immediate need. Everybody's got an immediate need for everything all the time, right? But I think as a leader in this space, and you're getting ready to get into this P3 work, again, lay out what's the most crucial, what's number 1 through 5, and put them in order of importance. Make sure to do your part. Everybody does their homework. You want that person that you finally get that meeting with, you want to send them enough information. You would hope that they do the work without you, right? Do the research, and you're going to do your research and be able to go in there and crush that meeting in 20 or 30 minutes with clear details, clear examples, clear outputs, right? Because you don't want them to waste your time and you don't want to waste theirs. Secure, consistent, and coordinated leadership. How many of you, we said it already, but how many of you are leading your neighborhood organization? Right. So if they look to you, and I can't tell you how many times this has happened, but if they look to you as the leader and you've started this conversation and then you leave, who's next? What's the system? What's the route for the next person, right? What's your succession plan? Because what you want to do at the end of the day, you care about your organization. So you want to keep a consistent voice and person there that they can always come back to. Because the worst thing that can happen is that you go in, let's say Anita, you go in and you build this relationship and it's great and they love you and you all go have coffee and it's wonderful. And then you leave and the person behind you never built that relationship. What happens? Everything falls down, and you all may have picked that relationship before. I've been there many times, right? So you want to have a good succession plan and keep everything coordinated and secure. Communicate early and often. I don't know about you, but I think the last minute conversation I had I'm trying to put this scenario out without naming all the parties or giving it too much away, but there was a request for some support from an organization that I was working with. And it was like, I need it today by 2 o'clock. Can you all write a letter and let them know that we need it today by 2 o'clock? No, nope, can't. There's a lot of questions we have before we do that, right? And so they need to communicate with you and you need to communicate with them. If you know that you have a deadline for something, or there's maybe a grant that you want to get in, ask them early. What do we need? How does that work? Because nobody's helpful last minute. Almost nobody's helpful last minute. Negotiate a fair deal structure. I think that there's a win on both sides. One of the things that I know that governments, municipalities, organizations need right now, especially if you're sitting in Antioch or North Nashville or any part of our community that is a heavy minority populated community, right? If you're a diverse community, that's the question. Everybody wants to know, what is this insert X, diverse community think. What do they want to know? How do they work? How do we reach them? How do we help them? You're a resource, right? You're a resource. So you have as much to offer as they do, because you have people who they need to know information about, thought leadership they need. So go in there and negotiate something that's a win-win, not just for them, but for you as well, because you're empowered in that space. And then build trust as a core value. And again, back to my work with developers, I mean, and community, the first thing that we have to build is trust. Nobody's bad all the time on either side. There are opportunities for growth and to win. You think? Hands up, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs up. Okay, yep, so we can all win, good. So there's a lot of neighborhood associations and groups here. I think some of the top P3 stops would be, of course, your council member. So for SNAP, Colby Sledge is the council member, Wedgwood Houston, and he and planning now have kind of a thing. We've set a precedent that developers can't just come and do one meeting and say we've done it and go away. We've been very vocal and in front of them, so that now we've set 2 meetings on the first and third Thursday of every month, first and third Tuesday of every month, specifically for developers. It's a half hour, and they come and they present in front of the community what they're doing or what's proposed. You also have a rubric that was designed with the neighborhood that we put in front of these developers and judge that project. That determines whether they're going to get support or not. So where did all that help come from? That started with council members and planning saying, no, if you got a Wedgwood Houston project, you need to come back and talk, go to the community, we need support from them. It's nothing magical that we did. I just said, no, this is how this is going to happen. And they said, no, this is how it's going to happen. And that's how it happened. So council members and planning were really key. I put task force in there. How many of you, is anybody in here a part of the mayor's affordable housing task force? So to that end, that seems like we need more community buy-in, right? What do you think? Yes, I would say so. So when you have, and I'm not specifically jumping on that task force, but I think when you have things like task force that show up, or committees or groups, when they speak of and about neighborhoods, just like when there are charrettes and things that happen and you look at the pictures and they're missing all of the legacy neighbors, right? Those are the types of things where we have to show up and sit on those. Those are crucial partnerships. Financial sponsors are also key, right? Because not only are they able to move your organization forward, they put a little money in your till. And if they're using CRA dollars, community reinvestment dollars, they're pushing you forward a lot. And that's going to be, you might become a case study. You become a crucial part of everything they do and say. And that leads you to promotional partners. You want somebody who's going to speak of your organization, speak of your neighborhood, be your champion when you're not there. And that's really one of the best types of partners that you can have. What's next? What's next is, I want to hear from you all. I mean, maybe a minute, is that okay? Jim and Valerie, if maybe a minute that you could tell me, and any of you, and I really, because I see like 6 people on my screen. So I'm going to jump in. Carolyn, I'm going to ask you, and then maybe Winifred, can I ask you next what community partners maybe you've had or would be beneficial for your organization, for your neighborhood? You're muted, Carolyn.
I would like in our neighborhood, and we've discussed that, Melissa and myself, about having greater police presence. We have the cameras and, you know, all the things that we need to give to the police, but we're told they're underfunded. So my request would be to fund the police in our area, from Mount Juliet, I guess, to Antioch. That would be one of my requests, more funding for the police department.
So I hear a potential, maybe a financial sponsor, maybe I hear a police sponsor, maybe there's a junior police or a volunteer police. I think there's something like that, some sort of community program. So they may not be police, but there's some options in there, right? So there's maybe a way to sit down and look at a creative option for that
Okay.
partnership.
Okay.
Maybe there may be something creative. Renifred, what about yourself?
Well, I was just listening to you describe how your organization SNAP has partnered with your council person, and I was just thinking about how important it is to have a good relationship with your council person. And in our district, prior to the current one, we had one that just really poor representative. And so we worked hard to get somebody great in that office, and that has really changed it around. But at the same time, I think about what happens if she doesn't run again, and we're right back where we were. But I know that we would benefit today more from deeper relationships with planning and some of the other city departments. We rely a lot on our council person now to just take care of everything.
So not that you have copious amount of hours left in your day after you do everything else, but if there's an opportunity for somebody to take point and just one touch point a week maybe with a council person, that may change something for you. Do you think would be helpful?
Sure.
And maybe your organization now has a voice, so even if the council person changes, they know, okay, they've got a real interest and they have a voice and they have their thoughts together. So maybe that's helpful in that space. Mm-hmm. Anybody else want to jump in?
I do.
All right. Yes.
We have a big, besides not having enough police officers, mm-hmm. we have a big problem that I just bumped into it just recently because of all the growth in the area. Mm-hmm. I wasn't really informed and about all the meetings, about all the rezoning and mm-hmm. all the buildings that are coming mm-hmm. up. And mm-hmm. I started digging, and it's because we are not informed by the government and our councilwoman. I mean, they bring these developments, the proposals to us, and we say no in the meetings, but then whatever our council person and the developer decide is done. So mm-hmm. how can we reach out besides just sending emails? Like you said, it's not gonna do anything. Mm-hmm. If I send an email to all the council, they're just, right. They're not gonna do anything. How can we really effectively, or who can we go to really stop this? Because here in Antioch, there's a proposal for a moratorium, for 120 days moratorium. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's gonna pass because not a lot of council people support that. And planning department already said no. So that's a huge problem. It's building a lot. There's gonna be a lot of blasting right next to our development. And none of us knew. I just had a meeting with the board because I'm on the board, and none of us knew about it. That is right next door, and they're gonna build 232 homes, and we don't want that. So, but we are right. in the dark, I think that we feel like we were in the dark and not informed.
So number one, I'm very sorry that's happening, and that is it's frustrating, right? And it's the path that generally happens is, there's a notice that goes out, there's a meeting that's required, right? There's a standard meeting that's required to meet with the community. The one thing that I would say is, number one, all those things that you read, they continue to post them. So you have to be incredibly diligent, right? And vigilant on what's happening. So all those things they post on the website, it's all public knowledge, and not to put the onus on you all, but that's also what is anticipated, that nobody's going to read it, but we posted it. and it's done. So then we can move on. And that's not necessarily always the greatest development. Touching all council isn't always going to be necessary. You want to touch your council person or people specifically, and go with when I said, make sure that you have a specific ask. If and not just, we don't want this development, but what is it about it that you don't want? And if it's not that, then what opportunity do you have to change
we
that?
need the infrastructure, for,
Mhm.
because we don't have it, and it's just, we can't support more people. And I mean, I'm not against growth, but it's just overwhelming, and the streets
Mhm.
can't support that. The police can't either. So, but they're just throwing everything at Antioch, and it's just very upsetting.
So articulate that. And Jim, I may be like going down a rabbit hole and giving advice, but this is what I want to hear, right? And this is what I want other people to hear. I think that being specific, so okay, we don't want this building. What do you want? Like at SNAP, I took them through a process so that we're not saying we don't want this and this and this and this. Here's specifically what we want. And then that developer is able to say, well, I can't do that, but I can do this. And we're just working through that process to see how that works. But the most important thing is gaining back control of the process, right? And so I would absolutely say those community meetings, or that community meeting that is set, you can request more, you can ask for more meetings, but one is it's necessary, right? Is required. One is required. And that's honestly just not enough, because everybody's not going to have time in their day and their schedule. So we've literally met with one developer 3 times. And that's a real opportunity.
And Dominique, if I could just throw in here, Melissa, 2 things that are really important, I think, are, one is for you and a few of your residents to participate in the planning academy that we host. Policy and Zoning 101, which will be happening again in May. We actually go through step-by-step process. You get to meet with key stakeholders in all the decision-making areas, so you learn about how that works. And I think that the other thing is, your area has in the planning department a person who is responsible for your area. And I would make it a point to find out who that is by calling the planning department and talking to that person. Because particularly since you're part of a neighborhood organization, this is a plus for a neighborhood organization, is that they want to know who you are, and they want to make sure that you're aware of what's going on. So by having that, you'll get advance notice about what's happening in your area. That might have alleviated the problem that you were having. All of a sudden you're waking up and here's this site, which is frustrating.
It's frustrating because it's about informing the people, informing the districts what's gonna affect them directly. And I think they just keep us in the dark. Even navigating the Metro website, it's a nightmare to find the meetings, to find the agenda. I think it's deliberate. And I'm not happy with it. And I'm a paralegal, and I'm just clicking like an idiot, just trying to find stuff. And it's not right. How is somebody else supposed to do that? I mean, it's just, come on, they need to inform the people. Okay. And I think it's about information, informing people.
And I don't want to go off what Dominique was saying, but I do want to point out, when 2 years ago, we gathered 30 neighborhood and community leaders from across Davidson County to talk about the Metro and planning process. And we identified 80 barriers that residents and neighborhood organizations have to participating in this process. And what was amazing was, it wasn't just like a couple of them were over here in East Nashville and some of these were over in South Nashville. No, it was across the city that people were experiencing these. So you're not alone. That's the other thing that's really important to know. You are not alone.
But it's bad. Dominique. But it's bad. I'm not alone. Not a good thing.
That sounds
should
like
all
something
be
that Ed could
informed.
figure out.
Yes,
Ed's gonna
please
do a
give
little
me
research.
ideas, because I mean the development next door is not a done deal, but so I need to know what
What round is it on the vote? Do you know?
see, and I'm confused too because I'm trying to learn. I listened to the meeting for planning, and they approved the rezoning.
Okay.
Now I think it's gonna go to, I don't know, where does it go? Because I'm out asking my councilwoman, she's like, well, it's not on my desk to sign. Well, then what? What's the next step? I mean, they're saying that's 232 homes, but now you're saying it's not on your desk for sign. When is it gonna come up? That's my new homework, besides everything else I do.
Right.
Shouldn't be my job. I go to a community meeting, I voice my opinion, and a lot of people said no. And then, these meetings happen like late, and it just, people don't show
Right.
up. They don't, oppose it
Right.
because they're not even informed they can be in the meetings. And so I don't know where it is at this point. I need to do homework. So
Berkeley is about to drop a knowledge nugget on you where that's going. Go, Berkeley, go.
please,
Yeah.
please.
It should be going to council now for the public hearing, which happens the first meeting of the month. So theoretically, March 2nd, it might be on the council.
Oh, so who
I can't
puts
say
it?
that for sure because I'm not sure exactly which project this is, but generally once it goes to the planning public hearing, then it goes to the council public hearing the following month on the first Tuesday of the month.
So who brings it up though?
Generally, it is assigned to the council member, and we may or may not have seen that, or it will go to the planning committee chair. Their name is often on things just as the planning committee person. But if a council member has been proactively working on something and says, I'm not signing this, that could hold the whole thing up.
Okay.
And that may have happened. I don't know. I'm still not.
No, it didn't. We're having problems with that, but we're organizing. We're getting together. A lot of people here. Now I just met somebody that's on the board of the neighborhood that's across the street. We're starting to unite, and because we're tired of this. So
red and white signs should be up all around the property that say when the public hearings are. If they're not, then
That's a problem.
Outdated. There's one left right there that maybe that was just for the last meeting, and I don't know. It's kind of confusing. But if you say it's gonna probably come up in the next council meeting. And I was just listening to the council meeting from, what is it, last night? It was 5 hours. I'm 3 hours in. It's a lot of homework.
Yeah.
So
Right. Well, we've got a lot of experienced neighborhood leaders that certainly can talk to you, Melissa, about about your situation. They've been there, so they know exactly what you're feeling.
I appreciate it.
Valerie, might I add one thing to what Jim said a moment ago?
Yeah.
I don't want to derail us too much, but the Planning and Zoning Academy, I would suggest that each of the neighborhoods have, and I'll use a Paulette Coleman word, have an intentional focus on that class, and be sure that somebody from the organization goes to that class and then disseminates the information to everybody else in the neighborhood who wants and needs to learn it. That class is now virtual, so you don't have to go to Metro Center. You can stay in Antioch and be a part of that class on Saturday morning. But that education part and the meeting of one another and all those things will address some of Melissa's concern. And Stacy did a great job in the last class of walking you through a lot of the what button do I push, where do I click questions that you have. So I would encourage you to talk to Valerie about how to set something like that up for all of your neighborhood organizations here and elsewhere.
Thank you, Ed.
I would agree because I went through it. even though I do listen to
Ah.
work I went through, and it was outstanding. So
Oh, yes.
can
I'll
I
have
put a
to do
bow
that.
on this? Can I put a
Yes,
bow real quick on
yes,
this?
yes.
Oh, examples. Yes. So Berkeley, I'll get your question. I had 2 questions that came to me earlier. What's a good threshold for knowing which projects should have community engagement process? All of them, if you could. I think that anytime you can get the community involved in a process, it's crucial. So anytime there's something that's coming up that's involved in your community, I think there should always be some sort of community engagement, even if it's a website that has a note. And if somebody is keeping tabs on meetings, right, put that out and say, hey, here's this meeting we can go to. Here's the next one we can go to. We can't go to this one, but they're going to do this. And here's the calendar of that. It's a lot of work for somebody, but once you get it going, it doesn't take it's not incredibly tedious. But I think almost all meetings should have community engagement or community acknowledgement. And then so how does a resident acquire information from developers? You ask, right? That sounds really silly and simple, but you ask, what do you want? You want information. And so they're required to give you information, right, in that community meeting. But again, through SNAP, we literally said, no, this is how this is going to work. We're going to meet the first and the third Tuesday. You want to come put your information here. If you want community support, or if you don't want any community headache, then this is how this works. At the same time, hey, community, have your information if you want to have your thoughts ready. If you want to say anything to the developer, we need to have a good consensus, strong thought together to say, we don't want 200 units, but we'll take 60, right? Like, have a dialogue and have a line drawn in the sand. Berkeley, you asked about examples of other cities. So pretty much any city that has a major, Inglewood. Inglewood is a really good example of a city that's doing so much P3 work, right? The mayor has come in aggressively in Inglewood, California, and is building the stadium. He's bringing teams back. They have the community business space has exploded there, and really with an intentional focus on diverse business, right? And diverse business growth and sustainability with inclusive public spaces, right? Because just having a public space or just having a new stadium does not mean that it's an inclusive and accepting space. So he's been very intentional and created partnerships with all kinds of individuals. So the government came ready to do the work and then sought out the people, right? As opposed to what usually happens, that the people say, we want this, and then the government finally goes, okay. Sometimes they're asking for it. What else? Did I miss anybody? Any other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? We feel good?
More. Just often, to make sure that you are effective, you need to make sure that what conditions you put in place actually happen. So I'm working on legislation to require some kind of oversight committee be created on the back end. Do you have any examples of effective ways to do that, and who pays for that, and where does their information live? Do we put it on a Metro website, or does that become a Metro entity? Any thoughts on that backside of that?
So I think for the P3 work, number one, because there is public partnership in there, right? It has to live in the public. So you have to put that, I think, on a website that's separate, because, we create all these websites for all these sub projects, right? Developers do it all the time, and that has to happen. That has to be visible. And it needs to be clear, not like going looking for your council meeting, right? And looking for legislation and the levels that it's going through. But when you do that, and you have to put that, I know that government says you have to show transparency on how money is spent. So that needs to live out there on a clean, separate, easy to navigate website. Who pays for that? I think when you're doing things like affordable housing, which is a whole nother conversation, or inclusive projects, there are so many impact investors, right? Social impact investors who really just live to put money into doing good, right? And there are lots of individuals like there's not enough, but there's a lot of money out there for, there are money-making hippies like myself who want to put money into things, but they have like way more money than I do because I'm probably more hippie than moneymaker. But they put money into projects and into things that make other good things happen. And so I think when you sit down to do this master group of people you pull together to do something amazing, you look for social impact investors. And there's a conference called SOCAP out of California. That's a social impact investor conference. And it literally is my happy place where just all the people who like to spend money on good stuff are. It happens in California every year.
Thanks. Great answer.
You're welcome. I have presented, so I'm good.
So we are at the end of the hour, and so I want to thank Dominique for participating today and for sharing her wisdom. I really want to thank each of you for being here, for showing up. It is always good to see people in the room who care deeply about the place where they live, and so thank you for being here. Next week is a very interesting topic. It seems that a lot of times Metro Council will, Berkeley Allen and her gang of 400 will make some kind of a major policy decision. And then all of a sudden we look and up on Capitol Hill, the state government is reversing the decision, right? And so we're going to be talking about friend or foes. Our metro and state government, you know, what's the relationship there? What's going on? And we have a really, really knowledgeable person to talk about that. Stuart Clifton's coming in. Stuart is a longtime friend of neighborhoods over, actually, I think in Berkeley's neighborhood. He is a former Metro Council member and also a lobbyist for the state. Does a little bit of business with Metro, but primarily with the state of Tennessee. And he's going to help us sort out that relationship and look at how that relationship impacts neighborhoods and what neighborhoods should be doing at not just the local level, but at the state level. So I want to encourage you to come back for that. I'm going to put the registration information in our on our little chat room there. If you want to do that now, then you can do it. We're really particular about what we do and what we don't here. So if you're new and you signed up for this class tonight, you'll probably be getting an email maybe once every 4 weeks from us, 8 weeks actually, saying, hey, we're having another discussion on planning and development if you'd like to attend that. But what we don't do is we don't automatically put you on our email list. And we have a weekly email that comes out with all of the classes that we provide and all of the chats that we networking opportunities that we have. So if you want to be on that list, please go to our website at n2n.solutions. We just redid it. We just relaunched it with a revamp, and we're still working on the glitches, but I'm almost 100% sure you can sign up for our emails there. If not, send me an email, and we'll be glad to get you on the list as well. I want to thank you all for being here. Look forward to seeing you next week, and just keep coming back. Glad to have you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
Dominique.
Sure, thank you.